That brown film on your tire? That's not damage, that's protection. And every time you spray tire shine on it, you're destroying it. I spent 6 months testing the alternative. It costs $1.50. It's sitting in a pharmacy right now, and it outlasts every tire shine I've ever tried, including the $40 stuff. But if I just tell you what it is, you won't believe me. I didn't believe it either. Let's be honest about what's actually happening here. You pull into the driveway after a wash. Your tire looks gray, a little dull, maybe slightly chalky. You reach for that familiar spray bottle, the one with the glossy label promising extreme wet look, and you give the sidewall a few pumps. 10 seconds later, the tire is jet black, almost wet, perfectly dark. You think, that's exactly what I wanted. I thought the same thing, for years. But here's what you actually just did. Most commercial tire shines, especially the high-gloss aerosol-style ones, are built on petroleum distillates and silicone oils. If you pull the safety data sheets, which are public documents anyone can access, you can see exactly what's in them. Those solvents are remarkably effective at one specific thing. They dissolve the brown layer on the sidewall of your tire almost instantly. That's why the color change happens in seconds. And then, once that layer is gone, the silicone paints a shiny coating over the top of what's left. It looks incredible, for maybe 48 hours. Then it starts to fade. At highway speeds, the excess product slings off the tire and lands on your paint and wheel arches. It attracts dust and road grime. And when it rains, it washes away almost completely. So what are you left with after all of that? A tire that has been stripped of its natural protection and coated with something that's now mostly gone. Bare rubber, sitting in the sun, exposed to UV radiation, ozone, and oxidation. And then you do it again next weekend. Now here's the part that really got to me when I started digging into this. That brown layer, the one you've been treating as a problem to be solved, it has a name. It has a function, and the engineers who design your tires have known exactly what it is for decades. Modern tires are built with chemical compounds called antioxidants. Their entire job is to fight the two biggest enemies of rubber, ozone and UV radiation. As your tire ages and sits under sunlight, those protective compounds slowly migrate from inside the rubber toward the surface. When they reach the outer layer, they react with oxygen and ozone in the air and form a brownish film across the sidewall. That process is called blooming, and it is not a defect. Bridgestone, Michelin, Continental, the largest tire manufacturers in the world, have each published technical documentation describing this exact process. They explain it as a normal, expected, and even beneficial characteristic of high-quality rubber compounds. The browning means the tire is working exactly as designed. The antioxidants are doing their job. And every time we spray tire shine on it, we dissolve that layer and wash it away. Think about what that means in practice. You've got a tire that's actively trying to protect itself, deploying its own chemical defenses against UV and ozone, and you're stripping those defenses off every 2 weeks and replacing them with silicone that washes off in the rain. What does a tire look like after years of that treatment? Gray oxidation setting into the rubber, fine spider cracks forming along the sidewall, what the industry calls dry rot, rubber that's losing its elasticity and its structural integrity years before it should. That's not just a cosmetic issue. A tire that's degrading from the outside in is a safety concern. The U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association has addressed this directly. Preventing premature aging from environmental exposure, they note, starts with how you treat the rubber. The goal isn't to make it look shiny. The goal is to keep it healthy, and that's exactly what the product I'm about to show you actually does. A few years ago, I started an experiment. I was frustrated with the cycle. Buy the shine, apply it, watch it fade, buy again. And I decided to approach the problem differently. Not from the angle of detailing products or YouTube recommendations, but from actual chemistry. I wanted to know what rubber needs at a molecular level to stay healthy and flexible long term. The question sounds simple. What does rubber actually need? Rubber is a polymer. At the molecular level, it's made of long, flexible chains. Chains of molecules that give it its elasticity and strength. When those chains dry out from UV exposure, heat, and ozone, they begin to stiffen. The polymer matrix loses flexibility. You get cracking, hardening, and eventually structural failure. This is exactly what happens when tires age prematurely. What a rubber polymer actually needs is not a coating on its surface. It needs something that can penetrate the material itself, something that interacts with the polymer chains from the inside. The technical term for this is a plasticizer, a compound that maintains or restores flexibility by working within the material rather than on top of it. So I started searching through scientific literature, research published in the Journal of Applied Polymer Science, studies on rubber degradation and polymer chemistry, papers on what actually keeps vulcanized rubber compounds supple over time. and one compound kept appearing across multiple sources in multiple contexts. A compound first isolated in 1779 by Swedish chemist Carl Wilhelm Scheele, something used in pharmaceuticals, food production, skincare formulations, and dental products. Something that, it turns out, has remarkable properties when it comes to porous materials like rubber. Glycerin, pure vegetable glycerin, the same ingredient in your hand lotion, the same stuff used in certain medicines and throat drops. Something you can walk into any pharmacy and buy off the shelf right now for about $2. I completely understand if your first reaction is skepticism. Mine was too. If this was genuinely effective, why isn't the detailing industry already using it? Why isn't it on the shelves at auto parts stores in a nicely branded bottle? Those are fair questions, and I'll answer them. But first, let me give you the actual science behind why it works. Because once you understand the mechanism, the skepticism mostly goes away on its own. Glycerin, chemical name, glycerol, is classified as a humectant. That's a category of compounds defined by one core property. They attract moisture from the surrounding environment and hold on to it. In skincare, this is why glycerin is one of the most widely used moisturizing ingredients on the planet. It pulls water from the air and locks it into the skin. But the reason glycerin works on rubber goes deeper than that, and it comes down to molecular size. Vulcanized rubber, the kind your tires are made of, is a microporous material. Under magnification, the surface is riddled with tiny channels and gaps within the polymer structure. For a compound to actually condition rubber rather than just coat it, it needs molecules small enough to enter those channels and interact with the polymer chains inside. This is exactly where commercial tire shines fail. The silicone molecules in most tire shine products are too large to penetrate vulcanized rubber. They physically cannot enter the material, so they sit on the surface, create a glossy film, and then wash off or sling away. They look great in product photos. They feel satisfying to apply, and they do essentially nothing for the actual health of the rubber underneath. Glycerin molecules are a different story. They're small enough to penetrate. Research published in the Journal of Applied Polymer Science shows that glycerol functions as a mild plasticizer in rubber compounds, meaning it interacts with the polymer matrix from the inside, helping to maintain and restore the flexibility of the material itself. This isn't surface level. It's happening within the rubber structure. That is the difference between conditioning and coating. Coating puts something on the surface. It looks good, it washes off, and it gives nothing back. Conditioning penetrates the material, interacts with its chemistry, and produces lasting change. Now, I want to be straightforward about what glycerin can and cannot do. It is not a miracle product. It will not reverse structural damage that's already happened. If your tires already have deep dry rot cracks running through the sidewall, no product in the world is going to fix that. Those tires need to be replaced. Full stop. Glycerin is a maintenance tool, not a repair solution. And if you're specifically looking for that soaking wet mirror gloss show car finish, glycerin is not going to give you that either. What it gives you is a deep, natural, satin black finish. Clean, rich, and consistent. The kind of color that looks like the tire just came off the factory floor. Not screaming for attention, just quietly looking right. Now I want to address the question I know is sitting in the back of your mind. If glycerin actually works this well, why don't tire care companies sell it? The answer is straightforward, and it has everything to do with how consumer product businesses work. Tire shine is what the industry calls a repeat purchase model. It's a product that is deliberately designed to provide fast, satisfying results that don't last long. You get that stunning wet gloss finish immediately, which feels like it's worth every cent. 2 weeks later, it's gone. You're back at the auto store, and you buy another bottle. A $14 bottle that lasts 3 or 4 applications works out to about $3.50 per treatment. If you're washing your car twice a month and using tire shine each time, that's somewhere around $84 a year, just for your tires. A bottle of pure glycerin costs about $2.50. Mixed 1-to-1 with distilled water, one bottle produces 10 to 15 full treatments. That's somewhere around $4 a year. There's no margin in glycerin. You can't brand it, you can't patent it, and you can't charge $14 for something everyone already knows costs $2.50 at the pharmacy. So it doesn't get marketed, it doesn't get shelf space, it doesn't get influencer deals. It just sits quietly in the pharmacy aisle doing exactly what it does. Alright, let's actually do this. Before I walk you through the process, let me tell you what you need to have on hand. You want pure vegetable glycerin. The bottle should say 100% glycerin, and you'll find it in the pharmacy section at CVS, Walgreens, or any equivalent store. Budget somewhere between $2 and $4. You also need distilled water, which I'll explain in a moment, a stiff tire brush, some basic dish soap, a spray bottle, a foam applicator pad or a microfiber cloth, and a dry towel to finish with. That's the whole kit. Nothing exotic, nothing expensive. Step 1 is cleaning, and I want to be direct with you. This is where most people go wrong, and it's why they don't get the results they expect. If you've been using commercial tire shine for any length of time, months, years, you have a silicone buildup on the surface of your tires. Not just a thin film from the last application, multiple layers of it, stacked on top of each other from every treatment you've ever done. Silicone doesn't fully wash off in the rain. It accumulates. And if you apply glycerin on top of that silicone layer, the glycerin can't penetrate. It'll just sit on the silicone, and you'll end up with the same surface level result you've always had. So you need to remove it first. Mix dish soap with warm water. Don't be shy about the soap, and get your tire brush. Scrub the sidewall with real pressure. Not a gentle wipe down, actual scrubbing. Work your way around the full circumference of the sidewall and rinse it off. Now here's the test that tells you whether you've done enough. Splash some water on the sidewall. Watch what it does. If the water beads up and sits in round droplets on the surface, there is still silicone present. Beading water means a hydrophobic barrier is still there. Scrub again. When the silicone is actually gone, the water will flow evenly across the rubber surface in a flat sheet rather than beading. That's your indicator. Flat water means bare rubber. Once you've confirmed you're down to bare rubber, let the tire dry completely. This step matters more than it seems. Glycerin is water soluble, and if you apply it to a wet surface, you're immediately diluting it and disrupting the concentration ratio. Let it sit until it's genuinely dry. Not slightly damp, not probably fine, actually dry. Step 2 is making the mixture. Open your glycerin bottle and take a look at it. It's notably thicker than water, slightly golden in color, and has a mild, almost sweet smell. Fill your spray bottle halfway with glycerin, then fill the rest with distilled water. Cap it and shake until it's fully combined. The reason you use distilled water instead of tap water is simple. Tap water contains dissolved minerals, calcium, magnesium, various trace compounds. When the water component of your mixture evaporates off the tire, those minerals are left behind. Over time, you get white spotting and a faint haze on the sidewall. Distilled water contains none of those minerals, so it evaporates completely clean. Step 3 is the application itself. Shake your spray bottle once more, then mist the sidewall in an even, light coat. You want the surface to look visibly wet but not dripping. Now watch the tire for the next few seconds. You'll notice it getting darker as you watch. The rubber is actively absorbing the glycerin solution. That color change is penetration happening in real time. Not a coating sitting on top, but the material actually drinking in what you've applied. Leave it alone for 10 to 15 minutes. Set a timer if you need to. Don't come back in 5 minutes and start wiping. The penetration phase is where the actual work happens, and it takes time. Resist the urge to rush it. Step 4 is working it in. Take your foam pad or microfiber and use slow, circular motions across the sidewall. You're not scrubbing, you're massaging it deeper into the material. Light pressure, complete coverage, even passes. Once you've worked across the full sidewall, take your dry towel, and wipe away the excess. The finish test is simple. Drag one finger across the sidewall. It should feel dry, completely dry. Not tacky, not slightly slick, not greasy in any way. If it still feels oily, you've got too much on the surface. Keep wiping. The result you're going for is rubber that looks dark and rich, but feels like dry rubber to the touch. What you're looking at when you step back is a deep satin black. Not the fake wet gloss that tire shine gives you, that almost dripping look that photographs well and disappears within a week. This is the color of new tires, the color they come with. From the factory before anyone has touched them, quietly dark even, and clean. And then here's the part that genuinely surprised me when I ran this test for the first time. 2 weeks later, after 2 washes and a rainstorm and daily driving, the tire looked essentially the same. Slightly less intense, sure. Nothing lasts forever, but nowhere near the complete fade out I'd see from tire shine after a single rainstorm. Because the glycerin isn't sitting on the surface waiting to wash off. It's inside the rubber. Let me show you the comparison I ran on my own car. 2 tires, treated at exactly the same time, starting from the same baseline. Both sidewalls were fully stripped and cleaned down to bare rubber before either product was applied. The left tire got a popular silicone-based tire shine, a product you'd recognize from any auto parts store. Mid-range price point, good reviews. The right tire got the glycerin treatment exactly as I just described. I documented them at the start, at 1 week, and at 2 weeks. Normal driving throughout. 2 washes, 1 rainstorm. After 1 week, the differences were already visible but still subtle. The tire shine tire had lost most of its gloss and was starting to look uneven, with the color fading faster in the areas of the sidewall that get the most sun exposure. The glycerin tire looked essentially the same as day 1, a little less intense but consistent and even across the whole surface. At 2 weeks, the gap was significant. The tire shine tire was back to roughly where it started, gray in places, chalky in the lower sidewall area, with the original browning starting to return in patches. The glycerin tire was still dark, still satin, still looking like it had been recently treated. I repeated this experiment twice more on different tires with the same outcome each time, and what struck me was that this result wasn't actually surprising once I understood the mechanism. Of course, the glycerin lasted longer. It wasn't competing dealing with rain or washing because it wasn't sitting on the surface. The rain couldn't wash out what was already inside the rubber. Here's what I find interesting about the detailing community's relationship with this information. There is a small but dedicated group of enthusiasts who have been using glycerin on their tires for years. They talk about it in forums and long comment threads. They consistently get dismissed or told they're wrong or asked why they don't just use a proper tire product. Now, having done this myself over several months, I understand their frustration. The results are real and the logic is sound, but it doesn't have the marketing infrastructure behind it that a commercial product does. The math, by the way, is pretty stark. A $14 bottle of tire shine lasting 3 or 4 applications works out to about $3.50 per treatment. 2 treatments a month across a full year is around $84 spent on your tires alone. A $2.50 bottle of glycerin, mixed 1-to-1 with distilled water, produces between 10 and 15 full treatments. Across a full year, you're looking at maybe $4 total. That's not the main point, but it's not nothing either. The main point is what those two approaches are actually doing to your rubber over months and years. One is stripping the tire's natural defenses and replacing them with something that disappears in a rainstorm. The other is conditioning the rubber from within and helping it maintain the flexibility and resistance it needs to last. Test one tire, clean it, use glycerin with distilled water, leave the rest as normal. Compare after 2 weeks. Trust results over marketing. Found this useful? Share and follow for real tests.